I love the Boulder Boulder because it's my Christmas day. There's like a few holidays that are really important to me, and the Boulder Boulder is right up there. And I love it because it's Boulder. It's our community, it's our family, it's our neighbors, it's people coming from far away, and it's an event to showcase this beautiful city.
The Boulder Boulder has always said, we want not to be the biggest race, but we want to be the best race. So it was always a focus on quality of the event. And that went for all the runners, the walkers, the joggers, the volunteers, the sponsors. Everything was, how can we make it better?
The first Boulder Boulder, it was the running community, and it was substantial from our perspective. And we thought that several thousand people in a race was a great number. But over the years, inclusion really is the word. It started to branch out into all sort of demographic areas.
The ideas that they were introducing, prize money over the table, the wave start, all these things were cutting edge, and they were innovative in the way they approach things. The stadium finish is unique. I don't think anybody matches it in the country or in the world except during Olympic and World Championships.
Steve is the creative one. He has a million ideas in his head, and I help make those ideas happen. One of them was the Boulder Boulder, which I loved from the very beginning, but I don't know anything about racing. I don't know anything about this whole world. I just knew how to communicate with people and knew how we should take what we had been developing together as kind of a philosophic and moral center of doing the right thing.
The Boulder Boulder, from the start, I think everyone who put it on, and I don't pretend to have been part of the management from the start, it really was Steve Bosley who could orchestrate this. And the philosophy from day one was to have it be for what we called the citizen runners. And that was always the focus. I don't think that changed. And I think it was a philosophy now that's been used 40 times to create the race.
It really became the Boulder's race. Enough people had experienced it over time that the brand didn't live in the logo or even in the Boulder Boulder office. The brand really lives in all those people who have raced it.
The thing that I knew for sure was Steve's enthusiasm. It clearly came out in what he was trying to do. When you talk to him about the event, he really wanted to make it better, and he wanted to do good things for the running community. So I don't know when I realized it took on a life of its own, but it didn't take long. I think maybe the third year I realized, oh, this thing's going to roll.
My favorite year was the third year. You know, you have to admit it. One, I didn't expect to win. I really thought that Mark Scruton was going to beat me because he was running under 28 minutes for, I think, for 10,000 meters, and I wasn't close. To just have everything go right and be able to do it in a way as my own thank you to Steve Bosley and everybody else in the race, to sort of show that I really did take it seriously, and it did have an effect on me.
Going to college in Boulder and living here, the Boulder Boulder is such a special race. A lot of people in the community run that race before you do it in the morning, so they're all watching you, and you're running for Team USA on Memorial Day weekend, and so getting to wear your flag on your chest and race for your country on one of the most patriotic days of the year is really special.
'98, when we pulled off the International Team Challenge for the very first time, we put together and brought in 18 teams, 18 international teams. It was really nice to see everything come together and so many countries wanting to cooperate.
The Boulder Boulder finish is probably as exciting as it gets. From I've run in World Championships, Pan American Games, like some of the biggest road races, and the finish line here is louder and more exciting than any finish line I've been to before.
You know, to be able to do that, who knows exactly why, but I'll always look back on that as one of my favorite moments in running. And then coming across the finish line, and the first person I see is Steve Bosley and his checklist. So, and I felt like saying, okay, you can check this one off.
There's so much excitement at the start of the race. Just minutes before the race is your hair will stand on end as you're at the start line. And you've got all this excitement, all this positive energy. The volunteers become so excited. They come out of that race so excited from the volunteering aspect of it. They're saying, gosh, I can hardly wait till next year. And they come back the next year.
There's so many benefits they gain from it that if they can get into it in middle school, it's something that helps them overall. And that is one of the biggest impacts, is making something physically active open to students of any interest level. And hopefully hooking them into something that becomes more of a lifelong fitness.
The Boulder Boulder is the absolute reason why I became a runner. I was a runner as a kid. I loved running in elementary school, which is weird because most kids don't like running, but I loved it. And when I was in first grade, did my first Boulder Boulder, and I was hooked. And I remember being a little boy being like, wow, this is something special.
I became involved with the race because it was a family affair, and mostly I came to the walkers. This was something very, very new. I don't know what year the high point was, but there were over 10,000 walkers and joggers. The idea being we wanted to give all of the participants a chance to have a race that they could truly call competitive.
My most rewarding moment of the Boulder Boulder isn't really one moment. Of course, I take it seriously, I train, I want to do my best, I want to run fast, but it's the moment in the stadium when everybody's in there, it's all packed with 50,000 people, and the song Proud to Be an American comes on, and then the jets fly over and everybody's waving their flags, and every time that happens, I get choked up, I get a tear in my eye, and it's just that feeling of community that this race has built in Boulder. And you look around, you see your neighbors, you see your friends, your family, strangers, and everybody's there celebrating the same thing. So that is the moment I love.
Steve Bosley really deserves the credit for the Memorial Day tribute. It was his idea. And to see the ceremony evolve to where it is now, I mean, it is truly the feature of the day for me. And who would have thought that, again, I keep getting goosebumps when I think back on it, but to parachute into the stadium, to have the Medal of Honor winners, to now have people being sworn into the service, military service on that day, I mean, who would have thought?
There's many times I wish I had served this country as a veteran. So Memorial Day to me is thank you to all of those people who have made that sacrifice. The Memorial Day ceremony and how everybody comes together for that period of time, and we seem to put away all our differences and we just celebrate the sacrifices that our veterans have made and recognize those people.
There are places in the world, little pockets in the world, where people are just magnificent. And you wouldn't care if you got paid or not. In fact, Steve and the Boulder Boulder are exactly the same. It's just, these are my kind of people. And so you do anything you can. And it's a work of love.
From my perspective, I would love to see more races be able to sort of emulate the Boulder Boulder. That may not be possible because geographically we're perfectly set up to handle any number of people that you want. But maybe that it would be, again, get back to being more inclusive. And I think the other thing that happened was that races began to be truly for profit. And that came in and you had companies putting on races and coming into certain local areas and in essence taking over the racing in that area. I like the fact that there seems to be a trend back to local communities organizing road races. And I like to think that the whole sport went full circle and Boulder Boulder never had to change.
And I would say the same answer I gave at the end of the second race. I don't know where road racing is going, but we're going to be at the front of it. And somebody said, that sounds pretty cocky. But I think 40 years later, it stood the test.